Good afternoon, Atlanta. Listen to WCEG Network. This is another episode of Veterans Today. Herman Anderson, co-host Anthony Aiken. We are the Worldwide Empowerment Group. We speak live in the community. Uh, there are several ways that you can join the conversation today, and they watch live stream, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, WCEG Network, WCEG Talk Radio. And as before we get into the program, let me give you our disclaimer. The topics and opinion of those of the show hosts and guests, not WCEG Network. WCEG is a nonprofit. Our office number is 404 490 8646. 404 490 8646. Good afternoon, my brother Anthony. How are you?
I am blessed to be alive, and it's so good to not only see you, but to hear your voice. And just to let everyone know that it's always exciting for me uh, to become a part of the show that we speak, as you said, truth into the community. And today our guests are just going to be really taken back because we have two exciting guests that will help us provide those truths that we talk about. So Herman, good to see you, and let's have a great day today.
Let's do it and let's get started with the Colonel. Uh, the Colonel has been on the show before. We having him back because it's that time of year. It's a good time for everyone to know the option dealing with Medicare and how it affects veterans, and veterans have special needs and special situations. So would you get started, Colonel Gibbs?
Hey, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Aiken, thank you very much for the intro. But just to make a long story short, my name is Forrest Gibbs, and I specialize in veterans and Medicare. And the company is Grace Rose Health Consultants, based out of Alpharetta, Georgia. We have two offices in the Atlanta area, one near the ballpark, right there at the Brave Stadium, and the other office here in Alpharetta, Georgia. And what we have seen thus far, let's start by saying the annual enrollment period began October the 15th and is going to run until December the 7th of this year. However, for the military veterans, the annual enrollment period can be extended based upon veterans having a special election period or a special election code based on your credible coverage with the VA healthcare system, such as TRICARE for Life, CHAMP VA, you name it. So if you're affiliated or associated with the Veterans Healthcare Program, then your enrollment period extends beyond December the 7th based upon your understanding that you do have a special election period. Now, what has changed or what you may see have changed since the annual enrollment period began is you have in some zip codes, some states, whatnot, have plans exiting the zip codes or exiting the state. So what needs to happen is if you receive a letter or notification that your plan is going to be exiting for the 2025 year, then it would be in your best interest to reach out to your agent of record or whoever the individual is who has facilitated that communication and understanding for you to select the plan that you currently have. Now, what I've seen on the veterans platform is a few of my clients have received that letter as well. However, when you call directly to that home office or that home carrier, oftentimes you're going to be diverted to speak to another sales representative. And that sales representative, his objective is to try to enroll you in a plan, and that plan may not be the best fit. It may not be in your best interest, or that plan may be right there with the carrier. But what I'm going to suggest is that you open yourself up to looking at the various options that exist, not only with that one carrier that you were initially enrolled with, but look at other options that the agent or broker may have available for you. And oftentimes when you call that carrier's home office, the only other option that they're going to present to you is the carrier's plan options available. So what I'm saying is simply, make a long story short, you have pretty much two national carriers in the Medicare footprint, and that is UHC, United Healthcare, and Humana. They're the main two national carriers in the country. The rest of the Medicare Advantage providers or carriers are in the footprint, but they're not the main two, the national carriers or the big boys. So I want you to have that understanding before you start getting yourself whipped up out of shape over receiving that notification that you may need to make a decision because your plan is exiting your zip code. So there are some options that you need to consider that would be in your best interest as well.
So, so
Go ahead,
what
sir.
type of communications that you're putting out to the veteran community that they are aware, other than what they're getting in the mail? Is your organization doing anything on your end to get into the network to help veterans understand the potentiality of what you're talking about?
Well, what I've done initially was to, for all of my existing clients, they received or should have received by now a postcard from me regarding those changes that what may be forthcoming for the plan year of 2025. So we took a proactive approach to reach out to all of our existing clients to make sure that they're aware before AEP actually kicked off. So now that they've gotten their letters, it's an additional workload, but we're ready and prepared to handle that workload. And then we realize that we have a deadline as of December the 7th.
Yes.
But for the mere sake of trying to get that deadline taken care of, then we can focus on those others that may not be aware of the benefits associated with veterans and Medicare and how we can tie those benefits into their VA healthcare benefits.
Is this something like information that they would have at the Social Security office, like a flyer or a pamphlet of someone going there? Will they have that kind of information there?
Okay, the only way I would think you would have that, you would have a broker or someone who has established a relationship with that Social Security office. You know how the bureaucracy is in terms of the red tape. You have to be vetted to go through the higher channels of the decision-making process.
Okay.
So oftentimes it's very difficult to put in your information there because they don't want to look as if it's a non-competitive type opportunity.
Gotcha. Understand. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question about veterans that are not not aware of the situation dealing with Medicare and trash care, and for an example, a new veteran transitioning and may just not have the program that you have.
What the first thing he should do, once he's made aware of us, the first thing he should do is try to make sure that he reaches out from the standpoint of just trying to get some education. That's the first thing. Then with the education, he can decipher and digest the information. Therefore, he would then be able to make an educated and informed decision, primarily because our focus is strictly on the veteran marketplace as it pertains to veterans and Medicare. This is our specialty. And we put our information out as an educational platform. So we're here to educate and inform, give the veteran our professional recommendation so they can then make an educated and informed decision based on facts, no hype, no fluff. And normally their common sensibilities will come to the forefront and it will support their educated and informed decision. Just as simple as that.
Straightforward.
That point I wanted to make to our listeners, that we're putting that information out there for you so everyone is aware of it, and it's part of your decision-making process.
Question.
And another thing I would like to add is, as you see these plan changes from year to year, you have the smaller companies and some new companies that have now entered the Medicare footprint towards veterans, trying to attract the veterans, because now they have become aware that the veteran marketplace is a very lucrative marketplace. So what used to be is no longer. Normally, when a veteran receive a phone call, normally they're trying to find out whether or not you have a Medicare Advantage plan, or whether or not you're aware of the benefits that they can afford you. But soon as you say TRICARE for life, in the past, they would hang up on you because they figured they couldn't do anything for you. But now a few folks have now began to realize that there are some other options for a veteran who has TRICARE for life, the dependents who have CHAMP VA, or a veteran who have 100% VA disability compensation. So you just have to be aware of who's who and what's what. Everyone is not skilled and educated in a particular area, but the word has gotten out now that some folks do know how to service the veteran marketplace.
Very good. Yeah. They've actually taken an interest in it, because you just said something that's very true. As long as the federal government is paid, a veteran or a retiree is going to be paid. And they understand that there's a lot of capital involved with that. I mean, just in the state of Georgia alone, there's almost 1 million veterans, retired veterans. So there is some serious economic, capitalism here.
Right, you have to understand the veteran, well, the Medicare system is fully funded by the federal government through payroll taxes, through Social Security income taxes, the whole 9 yards. So it's 18 billion plus industry per year in terms of budgeting.
Woo.
So that lets you know, I mean, the hospitals, the doctors, the brokers, the agents, you name it, all up under that budget constraints. And it's a regulated field. So there are certain rules and regulations that you must abide by to stay in compliance.
Everybody's getting fed.
Mm-hmm.
So tell our listeners, how can they reach you, and what is some of your contact information that we can share with them?
Okay, the contact information is Forrest H. Gibbs, 858-774-7327. And or federal, 858-774-7327.
Good.
Forrest Gibbs, Grace Rose Health Consultants. And we have been vetted with the VA, and we're currently preparing to provide workshops at the VA locally right here in the Atlanta area come next year. We're also vetted with the American Legion, the VFW, the Montford Point Marines, and the Tuskegee Airmen. And for low-income veterans, we do have a structure where our agents can assist with reducing their Medicare Part B premium up to, in certain aspects, up to $164.70 in the state of Georgia. And we currently work with 44 states and have assisted over thousands of veterans with education pertaining to their Medicare. So we're traveling all over the country now as to us being able to make an impact, make a difference in the veterans' lives. And that's what we're doing. And we started out back in 2019, and 5 years later, we've pretty much made some inroads.
So, do you provide workshops, or will you be providing workshops in the Metro Atlanta? area?
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, my assistant, Mr. Carla Walker, she can be reached at 7. Let me make sure I get her number. She can be reached at, bear with me a second, 762-760-7771, Jacarla Walker. Or you can also hit us up on the website, www.gracerosehealth.com. You can put your information right there. Then we also have a 60-second commercial for you. And you can fill out any information to reach us and contact us. But we do have workshops scheduled with Clayton County during the next week period. Any particular specific times, you can contact your Carla Walker for that specific information. And then we have a schedule where it takes us to New Jersey and Oklahoma or Texas this month.
Wow.
So other than that, we're getting around. We're
No,
trying to spread the information and disseminate it to the folks who really need it.
That's excellent. And we hope that this platform will assist you in getting the word out, because it's valuable information for veterans and their families, the opportunities that many of them probably don't know about. So now that you give your contact information, phone number and everything, is there a particular email that they could also contact you?
Yeah, the email address is federal, like federal government, federal ben, BEN at gmail.com.
At Gmail.
Again, is Foxtrot, Echo, Delta, Echo, Romeo, Alpha, Lima, Bravo, Echo, November at gmail.com.
Herman, I'm impressed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm impressed. He still remembers the code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still working. I'm still
Yeah,
connected
you're
with the
still working.
veterans.
That's great to
That
see.
is
Still on the
great.
government payroll.
Well,
Yeah.
your segue is really going to tie into our guest that's coming up, Dr. Coleman and her organization and things that she does with homeless veterans. But before we get on with her, what type of homeless veteran population have you been dealing with in regards to assisting them with getting Medicaid, Medicare, or whatever?
Well, we've been dealing with the homeless veterans on a minimal scale, but we have supporting agents that have been trained to assist those homeless veterans in terms of getting and applying for Medicaid, to facilitate them getting some type of assistance in terms of the food card, the over-the-counter type assistance, and some additional funds that they can utilize for their necessities. So in that regard, we do have agents that work with us on a day-to-day basis that can assist those folks who are needing to apply for dual eligibility status, such as when they become eligible for Medicare. They may be neglecting the application to submit to the Medicaid, Department of Health and Human Services, to get their Medicaid approved as well. So normally when you become dual eligible, you're entitled to a certain different level of benefits as it pertains to Medicare Advantage plans. So normally you can receive upwards to $5,000 a year for dental, and $500 a year for glasses. And normally you can get a food card, which gives you the opportunity to purchase over the counter, as well as grocery, utility help. You can use it for pretty much anything that's in need.
Yeah, that's
So
good information, man. Ooh.
I have a question about dual eligibility. Is
Yes, sir.
that's a certain level of requirement of income, right? Or is
Yes,
it
normally
disability?
when you're normally the dual eligibility status criteria, you have to be within the federal poverty level. Normally, I don't know the specific numbers, but anyone who makes less than $1,500 a month should strongly consider submitting an application for applying for dual eligibility status through the Department of Health and Human Services.
That's good information. I
Yeah,
think
Right.
it is.
what we find out dealing with veterans is there's a lot of information like that veterans are not aware of it. So education is important, and communication.
Yeah, that's true. Communications is key and essential for groups like Herman's and people that we deal with all the time, because there's so much out there that veterans and their families don't know about, have not taken advantage of, that if they would just seek it out or have someone take them to the trough so they can drink to help their family. That was the bottom line. I mean, we're still getting too many suicides per day with veterans.
Right.
We should be down real low, but we're not, because of the tough situations from medical to just eating food. These families and veterans are causing themselves to be in, and creating all types of tough scenarios for them.
Okay. And this is what I can say, if you looking for any type clothes, is simply, we can work with anybody and everybody who needs some type of assistance. If not me personally, we do have additional agents who can assist in that regard. We have also a young lady who specializes in submitting and assisting the veteran with the Medicaid application. Oftentimes, they just don't know how to communicate it and facilitate that information directly to the Department of Health and Human Services. That needs to be submitted normally by someone who knows the system and knows how to work the system.
Okay.
I
Sounds
hope that
great.
helps.
Well,
Mhm.
this is a
Yeah.
really good segue into Dr. Coleman coming on next. And Herman, let's see, right now it's about 12:25. We can probably start to wind down a little bit with him, and so he can still stay on. Hopefully he'll stay on so you'll hear what she has to say in regards
Okay,
to her
sir.
organization that could be a benefit to you and what you do.
Okay, all right, I greatly appreciate the time.
Well, thank you. And if you have any closing remarks or closing points you want to make, and you're invited to stay on or get off.
Okay, well, the only close I would give you is simply to say, we're available 5 days a week. During the annual enrollment period, we're available 6 days a week. So you're welcome to give us a call if you have any questions as it pertains to veterans and Medicare. The Medicare Advantage plan is what we specialize in. And again, my name is Forrest Gibbs. You can reach me again at 858-774-7327, or federalben@gmail.com, or gracerosehealth.com. Okay, it's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, next we have Dr. Coleman. Why don't you come on in the air? There she is. Dr. Coleman. Wait a minute. First of all, let's let our guests know you're not on a beach somewhere, are you?
No. This is, you know how you have your dreams and visions. I believe that we don't dream as much as we used to. So this is my dream. Yeah.
Well, listen, with me is my good friend for a number of years, Herman Anderson. Herman, why don't you go and introduce yourself there?
Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Coleman. I believe I have a bio that you sent us. So this is Dr. Coleman. Dr. Lenore Coleman received her doctorate of pharmacy degree from the University of California, San Francisco. She completed an ASHP approved residency in laboratory care at the USC School of Pharmacy. Dr. Coleman has been practicing for over 36 years and has worked in the clinical pharmacies and acute care, ambulatory care, long-term care, community pharmacy setting. Within each of these practices, Dr. Coleman has focused on care and management of people. Dr. Coleman holds the title of adjunct professor from Xavier College of Certified Diabetic Education. 18 years, Dr. Coleman provided education in edu, provided education in drug therapy management to ethnic nationwide population. I'm going to skip some of it.
Please,
Dr.
please.
Coleman is president and founder of Healing Our Village of Maryland and the National Certified Minority Business Worldwide. Village her website is www.healingourvillage.com. Healing Our Village provide diabetics, asthma, and COPD education nationwide with certified programs in Washington, D.C. Most recently, Dr. Coleman has launched www.villageclub.global.com, a medical program with focus on prevention, management, and cardiometabolic disease, obesity, with a focus on preventing and management of cardiometabolic disease, and in the Urban Sentinel magazine, HTTPS, urbansentimentalmagazine.com. In March of 1996, Dr. Coleman became a fellow of American Society of Health System Pharmacists and Representation sustained excellence in practice area for more than 10 years.
Very good.
Thank you. You don't have to read the whole thing, but thank you.
What it proves is you're a very, very well educated lady and who's been dedicated to her profession for a number of years. And now you're at a point where you want to let the world know that you're here to provide another service. So welcome again, Dr. Coleman. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great today. And I just want to thank you. It's an honor to be allowed to talk to the veteran population. One of the things that wasn't mentioned in that bio is I was actually chief of ambulatory care at the VA Sepulveda for 6 years. So I headed up the pharmacy operations, not only at that VA, but a couple of its satellite clinics. So I really do have a good feeling and understanding of veterans' health.
Well, it's good. Herman and I have been together about 8 years, and each time that we're on the air, we want to bring on people that have a passion for what they do, because our mantra is to always speak truth into the community. And our conversations recently keyed in on something that you have a passion for that's coming up very quickly. Why don't you let our audience know about it?
Okay, excellent. So in actually February of this year, the Lord dropped on my heart that I needed to try to do some more work with veterans. And so I had really been focused on the senior population, the Medicare population that Mr. Gibbs had mentioned. And throughout career, I've always basically done African American health, and I've done some working with Latino health. But this year, I got this idea that we needed to do better with the veterans. And I think it was because here in Atlanta, and all throughout the country, but specifically here where I'm at, there are so many veterans living in tent cities, in the forests and in the parks and all over the state of Georgia. And so they're homeless. And if you drive down the streets of Atlanta, you see people that have all of their belongings in a black plastic bag and a shopping cart. And this is a very, very rich city. This is a very, very rich country. And we really should not have people that are homeless. I don't understand that. So I put together a stakeholders meeting. Actually, Herman came, and I had 22 different people, agencies, et cetera, come together here in Jonesboro, which is where my clinic is based. And they got together and they informed me sort of what is the need? What is the need? And their needs are multiple needs. So they came up with pretty much 6 areas of concentration, and I've started to add to those as well. But we got housing, We got medical care, because oftentimes you can't get into the VA because they're so backed up. You have behavioral health care. Once again, it's hard to get into that. And a lot of veterans are suffering from mental health issues, depression, anxiety, PTSD. But you said something in your introduction, which was suicide. That's why I work with Tony Barnes at Vet 22. 22 veterans a day are killing themselves in this country. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. So that needs to stop. So we got to do both medical care, but we have to do behavioral health care. We also have to reconnect all of the service organizations to the veterans at large. You know, but back, my daddy was a vet, and my brother, and they used to hang out at the post. You used to go to the post, and there'd be hundreds of people at the post, right? Especially on a Friday night, Saturday night. That's where you know, Black folks. That's where we went to go party and have a good time. Was
it's happening then.
Back in the day. And so, but now when I go to the post on a Friday night, Saturday night, I don't see folks there. Now I know the veterans are there, but I would like to figure out ways to sort of inject some energy and some help to those posts so we can re-energize them, because those were safe places where people could come and really have a lot of fun and play a little dominoes and bid whist. See, I'm dating myself. Folks don't play dominoes and bid whist no more, but that's what we used to do.
Yeah.
And so we have our VFWs are up there, all the locations of the AMVETS, all the locations of the American Legion, all of that is part of what we're trying to connect. And then we have an area related to claims. So there is a lot of veterans who are eligible to get disability claims, but most of them are not at 90%, 100%. They have not been able to find reliable people to connect their service disability, right, to the medical conditions that they have. So as part of my medical care that we're doing two things. We're doing DBQs, so disability medical questionnaires, those benefits questionnaires. You can't get to the claims piece until you got the DBQ done. So that is what my clinic in Jonesboro is specializing in, is getting the DBQs done. And then I'm also affiliated with a couple of physicians that are doing the Nexus letter. But in some cases, you don't have to have those, because those cost money, as you know, for veterans. And so the claims is a big thing. And we're actually working with Herman and his folks at Vets Helping Vets. But I need other claims agents as well that are accredited claims agents that can be able to help these veterans get up to 90 to 100%. Because if you get to 100%, that's $3,800 a month.
Ooh, yeah.
And some of them, and Herman can even talk more to this than I can, some of those folks get that money retro.
Yeah.
So there have been some folks that got a $40,000 check once they finally went through the process. But unfortunately, for whatever reasons, their VA system is not real, forward thinking and proactive in helping to get these veterans where they need to be. So we've sort of stepped into the void here to make that happen. We're also going to have job training as part of what we're doing. We're going to be training in the trades, so welding and carpentry and plumbing and HVAC. But then I'm also going to be training around allied health professionals. When I was at the VA, all of my pharmacy technicians were medics in the service. I hired nothing but VA medics to work as pharmacy techs in my pharmacy. And so there's a lot of veterans out there that are med techs that could become certified medical assistants, phlebotomists, EKG techs. And so we're going to stand up training programs for all of those certifications, especially for those vets that already, are in that space and kind of like the healthcare piece. So, and then the other piece is going to be getting all of my clergy and pastors around the country to be able to provide spiritual counseling and life coaching to veterans so that we can kind of help them understand that they should be able to live a long and prosperous life and that there's a lot of things to be happy about. And so we got to figure out how to get past all the anxiety, the depression, the PTSD, all of that. So that all of those things that I just mentioned is now up on a website called Vets Moving Up. Vets, V-E-T-S, vetsmovingup.com. And I got the idea of calling it that because of George Jefferson, and he was moving on up to the east side so he could get a piece of the pie.
He can get a piece of the pie.
And these veterans need to get a piece of the pie. Yeah, they do. They have sacrificed their lives.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time, that you've earned everything. No one's giving you anything.
No.
You've earned it. And, Herman and I have gone through the system like a lot of other veterans, but it's going to take perseverance. It's going to take knowledge. It's going to take engagement. It's going to take, some stick-to-itiveness, because we're dealing with a huge monster called the VA, the largest healthcare system in the United States, the largest. And yet, if you look at them, most of them from a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, what happened? 1 being the lowest, that it can be very depressing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there are so many vets that have just given up. They aren't even trying anymore.
It can be very, very depressing. So we need to do whatever we can through your forum, Mr. Gibbs' forum, to help wherever we can. And I'm very glad that Mr. Gibbs is here so he can hear exactly what you and your group are talking about. But you have something else coming up very shortly, too.
Yeah, I do. So back to the homelessness, I'm one of these big thinkers. People don't think big anymore. My mama always taught me I needed to think big. So what I decided to do is we need to create villages. We need to create veterans villages all over the state of Georgia, all over the country. And in these villages will be these container houses. So I have a whole development team of architects, developers, contractors, all working with me to put these villages together. And so there'll be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom container homes on these villages, but there'll also be a building. Sometimes people like to live in the same building. They don't want to be by themselves for various reasons. They like to be in a group setting. So those will be available as well on some of the villages. There'll be a small clinic, so they'll be able to get their health services right there. There'll be a food pantry, so we can try to give them free groceries right there on site. And then we'll have a training center right there. So they will be able to access all their services on these villages, which will be transitional villages, right? So people can stay there, up to 2 years. They can transition sooner if they want to, because we're trying to get folks so that they get all of the skills and all of the support that they need to then, move into society and have a healthy and a prosperous life. So I'm doing a fundraiser. It's a concert on December the 15th, which is a Sunday. And from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we're going to be doing all of these workshops. And I would invite, Mr. Gibbs to come over if he wants to talk about, Medicare, because as he said, if you're a veteran or if you have diabetes or heart disease, those are considered to be special chronic diseases. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have a limitation in terms of when you can enroll in a Medicare Part C plan, which is the Advantage plans are all Medicare Part C. So I'm going to be doing workshops on all of those things I just mentioned, on behavioral health, on financial literacy, on work training, job training. So we'll have full 3 hours of workshops, and then the doors for the concert open at 4 o'clock. And I'm going to have Kiki Wyatt, and I'm going to have Chubb Rock doing some hip hop. And I'm going to have Keith Dobbins, who is actually going to be inducted into the Gospel Hall of Fame next year. He's going to have 2 brand new singles that he's going to drop at this concert, and it's going to be a good time. I'm hoping to have some bands there, some drum lines, so we can do that. Tony Barnes is going to let me hopefully use his orchestra that he has of the kids, and so it's going to maybe a clean comedian. They got to be clean though, and so it's going to be a good night. It's going to be a good night. So I've sent you the flyer. That's the first flyer for the concert, and we've set up an Eventbrite page, so that QR code takes you to the Eventbrite page. But we're also looking for sponsors. You know, some of you, the folks that listen to this broadcast, they know people who know people. And so we need to bring in, I'm trying to bring in $250,000 at this event, which will give me enough money to buy my first piece of land, my first 10 acres, and start to build these houses. And you know what? The VA has money for this. So I just need to meet some of those important people at the VA, right? At the central office. You guys got to help me find the money. Where is the money?
Well, I can tell you that anytime you're dealing with a government agency, there is a process to become
Oh, I know.
certified. And a certified small business, or certified woman-owned business, or certified veteran-owned business, or service-connected disabled veteran business. So there are all kinds of avenues that you need to pursue to get yourself aligned to do work within the federal government structure.
Okay.
I understand this, but having been a business owner for 14 years in that system, you really need to know and understand the process. And once you understand that process, just like dealing with the VA, it could be very, 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 very helpful to you and your family.
Right.
So, you know, I'm available. I'm extending myself to you. So
Thank you.
I've been through that process. But we need to let our listeners know, where will this event be and the times again?
Okay, so it's going to be at the Clayton Performing Arts Center, which is in Jonesboro, Georgia, because that's where my clinic is, out here in Jonesboro. I'm trying to help the South Side. There's a lot of stuff going on in the North and in Atlanta proper, but not so much going on out here in Clayton County, Henry County, DeKalb. So I'm trying to bring our efforts out here to the South Side. So it's going to be at the Clayton Performing Arts Center. Again, it starts at 1 o'clock, and from 1 to 4, I'll be all the workshops, and I'll send out more information on those once we get those all locked in. But the concert, you have the flyer. Doors open at 4. It's going to go until 7. And we're going to bring in Kiki Wyatt, Chubb Rock, and Keith Dobbins.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I have it down on my calendar, and I'll be making a donation to your organization, you know, to support what you're trying to do, because we believe in trying to extend ourselves to help others.
Yes, yes.
And I am so happy that for the past 8 years, we've been able to bring on so many guests. Herman has brought on so many guests. I brought on so many guests. Our leadership has brought on guests, but it's all geared to educating our public.
Right.
Well, it's geared to educating and like we say, empowering the community. So in order, I think in order for dealing with veteran organizations like my organization, like the DAV, American Legion, and all the VSOs, that's a project unto itself, is to get everybody committed to participating. And at the same time, you have the American Legion, the 6 VSOs, all, I mean, they've been here 100 years. So what they gonna do, they gonna do it. And it's you, in order to get them to reach out, become part of a problem that is definitely need help, is building a relationship with all the veterans organizations. You have the veteran organization, and you have just plenty of nonprofits that say they help veterans and say they deal with homeless. But when you look at the numbers, I mean, some of them are not doing it, and some of them the facts are some of them have no intention of doing it either.
Yeah.
That's just so it's all of that has to be included in pushing through what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. So the website is the idea was it's a clearinghouse. If anyone goes up there and they see under the various categories and there's other service organizations that you're aware of that you think are actually doing a good job
Yeah.
and should be listed on my website, I'd like them to, I'd like to know who they are so we can reach out to them. Because the whole idea is to make that website as robust as possible. But at the end of every page, the veteran fills in that little contact sheet that comes directly to us. We will get in contact with that veteran, figure out exactly what it is they need, and try to connect the dots. So we're trying to connect the dots. That's what we're trying to do. And that's what I was told at the stakeholders meeting was an area that needed some shoring up, so some structure around veteran support services. So that's what I've done. So I'm really excited about that. How many more, do I have another minute to just tell you a couple more things?
Sure.
Okay, so I never like to do these things without talking about the problem. And the problems that I focus on is diabetes, prediabetes, and hypertension. African Americans have the highest rate of hypertension in the world. In the world, not just here, in the world. There are currently about 68 million people in this country that have hypertension. 50% of those are African American. 1 in 3 people in this country have hypertension. So the number your blood pressure is supposed to be is 130/80. That's the goal. The top number should be 130, the bottom number should be 80. And I want all your listeners out there, especially the men, go buy a blood pressure cuff and take your blood pressure.
Say that reading again. Say that reading again.
130/80. And if your number not there, then you need to call the 800 number, Healing Our Village, 800-788-0941. That's what's up on the website, because we need to make sure you're getting good care and you're on the right medicines. And so that's what we do. Prediabetes, that's what you get before you become diabetic. There's 97 million people in the country that have prediabetes, mostly because of obesity. So we need to, there's also a number that talks about that. So your A1C, which regulates how well your blood sugar is being controlled by your body. It's called hemoglobin A1C. That number is supposed to be 6.2 or less.
Wow.
My number is 5.3. I was at 5.7, and then I lost 30 pounds, and now my number is 5.3. Okay. But diabetes, and that's what the disease that kills you one part of your body at a time. So it takes away your eyesight, it takes away your kidney function, it takes away your nerve function. It goes one piece at a time. There are 38 million people in this country that have diabetes. Many Black people are 2 to 5 times more likely to have diabetes. And so 8.7 of those folks don't even know they have diabetes.
Question for you, doctor. In most cases, we're dealing with a mature population. I'm not going to say old, but a mature population that may not be up to the social media platform to get information. So are you using other methods like going to the various churches, to the veteran ministries, or to the other nonprofit organizations and getting the word out? Because it's very, very important. And some people don't have the access. So I'm just thinking about other venues that you have considered to get the word out.
Well, I'm working with the American Legion. That's 236 posts. And then there's 93 VFW posts. So I'm trying to go to the posts. The people might not come, but they do have very good mailing lists. and text messaging. So we're working with them to access their membership lists, right? We're actually going to be in Pastor McGee's parade on the 9th of November. And so if anybody listening, come on down to the parade because my mobile van will be there. And
Okay,
so you'll be able to get
tell
hooked up with us by that mechanism.
You want to tell our listeners what parade that is?
All I know, Pastor McGee called me yesterday. He just told me that this is their major veterans parade in Midtown or downtown Atlanta, and they do it every year. So this is an annual event, and he is supposed to be giving me all the details. But I was supposed to have my mobile van there by 9 o'clock. So,
Okay.
so that's all I know.
Anthony, this is the Georgia Department of Veteran parade that we've had it for a long time, and it's in Pastor most people know Pastor McGee, Vietnam Veteran of America, and his chapter is participating in it along with a lot of the other organizations.
And that's going to be on what date?
The 9th, November the 9th.
November 9th. Okay. We got to make sure that like you said, Pastor McGee's been on our show many times. We want to make sure that we support him by getting the word out to as many people to attend. So not only will we see Pastor McGee and his crew, but we'll see Dr. Coleman and her van.
Yeah, I'll be there. And we'll also have my physician that does the medical marijuana program for the PTSD and the other, chronic pain. There's all these various conditions that there's good scientific research that helps. So she'll be there as well. I'll have a few other physicians, but we'll have our diabetes folks there. My pharmacist will be there. So we'll be in full effect.
Could you mentioned something too that we brought on the air, and we all know that marijuana is still considered a class 1 drug, even though a lot of the state legislators around the country and state governments are legalizing the use of medical marijuana to help with the number of illnesses that veterans and others are facing. Do you see? I've encountered many veterans in Georgia approaching your organization about the use of medical marijuana to help with their various illnesses?
Yeah, no. And that's why one of the things that I'm trying to do is really get the word out to as many people as possible, because I don't think that they realize that there's good scientific data that shows that. And it is legal in Georgia for a medical card, right? For medical use. There are 4 or 5 dispensaries now around the state that they can actually go get the product from. And so all of my doctor does is just goes through the medical piece and certifies that they do in fact have one of the illnesses that is covered under this particular card. But the card itself comes from the Board of Health.
Okay.
But to your point, that is why this election is so important that we have coming up, because Joe Biden might not have enough time to take it from a Schedule 1 down to a Schedule 3. That's what he said he was going to do. But the DEA is not making it easy to do that. So we need someone in the White House who's going to support that effort, because it definitely classification needs to be changed.
Too many lives have been affected. I know from a standpoint, when I was a patient in the VA on a number of occasions, veterans that were really in some serious conditions were considering the use of it, but because the VA system cannot endorse it or give it because it's still considered a class 1,
right?
Veterans were still involved with taking 14, 15 pills a day and yet still in pain.
Right.
So hopefully there'll be some more awareness of this to help those individuals that we got to do what we have to do to save our lives.
Yeah.
We've given our life to defense of our nation. We need to take care of our veterans.
Right. And for future shows, if you want Dr. Tiffany Forbes to come on and talk about it and how it works and what the benefits are, her name is Tiffany Forbes. she would be more than happy to do that. She's an amazing physician.
Okay. Well, look,
Excellent.
it's almost closing time, Herman.
That's right.
Yes, it is. Uh, so we had a great program, and we do what we do. We empower the community. We put out information. So today we had two great pieces of information that we put out to educate our listeners, to communicate with our listeners, and also ask our listeners to, particularly veterans and their family, and I'm asking them to listen, become educated, and make decisions on helping you and helping your family get what we have earned, which is our benefits and our entitlements.
Very good. Dr. Coleman, why don't you let our listeners know how they can reach you and your organization? Could you share that with us?
Yeah, so I'm at Healing Our Village of Maryland, or HOVMD, and the website is healingourvillage.com, and we are located at 177 North Main Street in Jonesboro, Georgia. We have an 800 number. It's 800-788-0941. That's 800-788-0941. But if you go to vetsmovingup.com and then put in your information under whatever category you're interested in, that comes directly to us, and we will give you a call back. So you can either call us or you can just hit the website, and you can do it on your phone. Almost everybody might not have a computer, but they all have their phones. So you can do it on your phone.
I remember the moving on up part. So
yeah, moving on up. See, you remember that, right? Yeah.
That's moving on up. So
that's moving up. That's moving up.com.
I tell you what, it's
so I'd love you all to come out and especially to support the medical marijuana. We're there on the 2nd and 4th Saturdays of the month. So right now she's only had one patient, so I need to get some more patients in.
Okay, right. Well, we want to say thank you very much, Dr. Coleman. We always have to give a plug to our founder, our mustard seed leader, Ms. Penny Rogers, for her with the vision and her steadfastness for us to go from a WCEG radio to now the WCEG network, where we have other great hosts providing great things. And of course, Ms. Greer, who keeps us together as our technical advisor and make sure that we're on track. So from my part, thank you very much. Herman, why don't you close us out?
Well, thank everybody for listening to Veterans Today. And I want to remind all our veterans and our people, our nation, that Veteran Day is coming up. Veteran Day is November the 11th. There's a lot of Veteran Day programs going on. I have one at Riverdale on November the 9th from Saturday from 10 to 2. So please participate in a Veteran Day event and support our veterans.
Well, Herman, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I just got an invite this morning, and on the 9th of November, I will be the keynote speaker at First Baptist Church, I believe, of East Point, and that's at 11 p.m. So I'm very, very happy that I was invited to bring a message. So that's going to be on 9 November at the First Baptist Church in East Point, and hope you can come on out. It's being hosted by the Veterans Ministry of that church.
Well, thank you, and to all our listeners, have a good weekend. Thanks for listening to and watching Veterans Today. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Take care.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, good afternoon.